Last question for today. How can I increase muscle without gaining fat? Is it possible? When we're talking muscle gain, we typically want to be in a calorie surplus. We want to slowly gain weight. How slow? Between 0.25 and 0.5% per week. That's very slow. You're going to have to do a lot of work for a long time, and it's going to take a while. That's like half as fast as you can go with fat loss, which is why muscle growing phases should also be generally be longer. Now, this is also going to depend on your experience level. Experienced lifters actually want to keep going very slow to kind of keep it as lean as possible. Whereas when you're new, you can actually go a little bit quicker. Now, there are scenarios where you can actually lose fat and build muscle at the exact same time. It's not going to always be the same rate. Usually it's not, but it is possible to have that, best of both worlds, muscle gain and fat loss. However, it's just not to be expected, right? Typically, for most people, we want to be in a deficit for weight loss or fat loss, want to be in a surplus for muscle gain. Now, exceptions where you could gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time, first of all, being newbie gains, especially combined with a higher protein intake. So let's say you haven't been eating a lot of protein. Well, what happens when you raise that protein intake combined with going from not working out to lifting weights a couple times a week, you might actually see quite a bit of body recomposition where that happens, right? Muscle gain and fat loss at the same time. It's very common for new lifters, basically. And I would say anyone who goes through this, benefit from that, right? Be happy that this is happening right now because it's going to get more and more difficult over time. So that's the first exception. The second would be steroids. Very common. A lot of models are using steroids on, Instagram, like fitness influencers, actors. Anytime you see a crazy actor, transformation where they have to get ready for a role, it's usually steroids. It's very common. And I think it's, we did talk about this already, so I don't want to dive into this too much, but it is something to keep in mind, right? Especially if you look at bodybuilders, reality is most of them are not natural, and that's okay. That's a choice. But I'm just saying, hey, we can't really compare ourselves to those people, right? So in most cases, you want to go slow. However, you will gain some body fat, and that sucks, but that's how it is. We can mitigate how much it is. We want to go slow. We don't want to push it too long, because if we get to a point where we do lose some definition and a little too much, hey, maybe let's dial it back. Or let's maybe consider a mini cut. But that's also why you will often see people doing a bulk, muscle gaining phase, followed by a cut. Because first we're trying to build as much muscle as possible with as little fat gain as possible. And then afterwards, we're trying to lose as much body fat as possible while maintaining as much muscle as possible.
When you're looking at how big of a surplus to go into, we're talking small, it could be a 100 to 200 calorie increase, right? It doesn't have to be anything huge.
Yeah, for sure. Because we often want to get excited and rush it a little bit, right? And this is where people do dirty bulks and stuff and just getting a whole bunch of body fat. Just be patient,
Right.
One step at a time.
And obviously resistance training, weight training is very important in a bulk.
Huge. Yeah. Very important.
You can do a little bit of cardio. But typically people tend to overdo it, but you could incorporate a little bit, more for health reasons. But most of it should be weight training.
Yeah. It's the thing, combine what you're doing with your goal, right? If you're trying to build muscle, hey, maybe you want to lift weights, right? If you want to improve your cardio, go running, go cycling, If you want to improve your health, maybe do a combination. But this is where what we do needs to make sense, right? If we really want to have solid, physique results or physical results, we got to put the right work in. We can get some results with body weight workouts, etc. Is going to be optimal for most people? Probably not. It's still going to be okay. We can make results there, but The stimulus needs to be there. We want to lift weights if you want to build muscle.